Let's talk about the few interview questions on SQL and PL SQL. As you all know, many of my videos, many times I prefer some questions which are going to ask in SQL and PL SQL interview. And I always tell in all of my videos that always try to focus how to answer. Does not matter from where you prepare. You prepare from Google, you prepare from any book, you prepare from your friend circle, friend group, some institution, some trainer. But always remember, whenever you prepare from scratch. Each and every topic with all the possible permutation and combination of questions that can be possibly asked. We have to prepare like that. So that if any question can come to the interview, you are able to speak there. Right? This is what interviewer wants. When you try to talk any topic, always try to give answers with explanation so that you're able to show your skill, right? Suppose for take example, I'm going to few questions in our today's video. Just like one question, can we write commit inside a trigger? This question is a very popular question in interview, right? And most of the people who are coming from Google in the sense who never we try to memorize the answer, who don't know the concept and try to memorize the answer, interviewer will get you in just 1 minute, right? And then the next time he's just going to time pass, he know that he's not going to select you. So always try to go to the base concept. Just like a question, can we write commit inside a trigger? Almost go to so many Google pages, everything written, no, you cannot write a commit inside a trigger. If you want to write, you have to write a pragma autonomous transaction. Without pragma autonomous transaction, you cannot write a commit inside a trigger. That's the correct answer. But when interviewer asks you, so can I write a commit, then what happened? So because you never tried it and you don't know the actual knowledge, so whatever the most of the people give the answer, no, you cannot write it. It will give you the error because we can only write commit if you write a pragma autonomous transaction. Always say how to answer is very important rather than what to answer. Everybody know that, but let's see. Can we write? We can write a commit inside a trigger without writing autonomous transaction. You can see that right now here in the example. Can we write commit? Let me create a table. I'm creating a table. Okay, the table is already created. Let me drop this table. Drop table tab 1. I'm dropping this table. I'm dropping this log table as well. I just created this table a few minutes before. What is this trigger? Trigger are automatic event. Event means insert, update, and delete. Sometimes interviewer ask in the trigger. Trigger is a very favorite topic of the interviewer, right? Interviewer can ask sometimes how do we call trigger? Always remember we never call trigger. Trigger will be automatic events. When any insert, update, delete will be happen, and we wrote a trigger on that, then the trigger will be called automatically. Right? This is what the trigger will do. Let's see this one example. The question is coming here. Can we write commit inside a trigger? I'm getting a table tab 1. This table created. I'm getting a log table, means whenever any insert, update, or delete operation will be performed, the data go here and insert into this table. This is what we wrote a trigger. This is the concept of trigger. We all know that. Let's see, I'm writing a trigger here. There is a trigger. If you see this, create trigger, trigger name. After insert on tab 1, means whenever this any insert will be done on my table, right? Then what is happening? Then what is happening? Then data go and insert into my log table. This is my log table. Means if somebody try to insert here, data go here. I wrote a commit. If you see this, commit is written here, right? So the question is here, our main question, that can we write commit? If you never try that, you can say no, you cannot write a commit, because most of the Google pages say the same answer. You can't write the commit without using a pragma autonomous transaction. You can see in front of you is a normal trigger. I just wrote a commit. I compiled it. Let's say this trigger will be created. So the first answer, whenever you give the answer, always go to the base concept. Trigger is what? Trigger is automatic events. This particular code will be fired if any insert operation will be performed on this table. Then only this code will be fired. So when the answer given, always remember how to answer is more important rather than what to answer. When answer this question is given, always answer like that. Yes, you can write a commit inside a trigger. There is no need to use pragma autonomous transaction. The trigger will be compiled, the trigger will be saved in the database in a valid status. But if you tried, that trigger will be called. For example, suppose I go here and try to write something into the table. Insert insert into my table tab 1. Values. Suppose I'm trying to insert any value 20, for example, number. Now the trigger will be fired automatically, and then it gives the error. So you can see here that you can write a commit inside a trigger, there is no problem at all. You can write a commit inside the trigger will be compiled. But when this trigger will be called automatically, then it gives the error that cannot write commit inside a trigger. This is runtime error, not compile time. That is runtime error, not compile time error. Answer will be same, but how to answer is depend upon how much salary you want to take from that interviewer. In the same project, in the same team, there are 5 people working on 5 different packages. Depend how good you give your interview, how good you're able to impress the interviewer. If you give this answer that okay, we cannot write a commit inside a trigger, we have to use the pragma transaction, right? Then it answer is coming from the Google. If he has a second question, if you write commit, then what happened? And if you say no, you cannot write a commit, means your answer will be wrong. Always try to explain the questions. Always try to explain the question that what exactly it is asking there. Always try to explain with example. So you learn about one thing about trigger, that we can write a commit inside a trigger. There is no problem in trigger creation. Trigger will be compiled successfully. But when this trigger will be called, then it gives error. So the writing a commit will give a error is a runtime error, not a compile time error. So when you gives answer like this, it will good impression to the interviewer that yes, you have a knowledge about trigger. It's not like that you go somewhere, you just prepare top 50 interview questions from a Google. It's not the case. Let's see one more question. Go to different question. Sequences. Sequences is one of the most, again, I'm saying in almost every project, we are using sequence as a surrogate key, right? Surrogate key means what? As a surrogate. Database is pure English language. Whenever you feel something like there is a problem is coming or some error is coming or suppose some problem comes in front of you, any scenario, just go and translate that problem into pure English. Database is pure English language. We are using sequence as a surrogate key. Surrogate key means you know about surrogacy. Surrogacy means not our child, but it's our DNA, something like that. The same scenario, same surrogacy comes here. In a database table, when we don't want to use composite primary key as a primary key, that's a very good question coming in the interview, that why are you using surrogate key, right, as a primary key, or rather than using a composite primary key as a primary key, right? We are not using, but we are using ID column which populated by sequences, and we can use that as a primary key. And then we can discuss about that in some other video. There is a question on sequence. Let's see one tricky, because I'm asking about the scenario based question in an interview. For example, let me create a table in front of you. Create table EMP. For example, I'm writing here ID, that is a number. I'm writing here name, varchar2, varchar2 20. I created a table, right? Let me insert few records. Let's see, very good question in the interview. INSERT insert into EMP values. And for example, suppose I'm going to insert one common name, I'm inserting A. Let me insert 3-4 record, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. Just make it 1, just make it for example null, make it for example 5, make it for example null, make it for example 11. Let's insert one more record. Just say it null. Name, I just mix up A, B, C, D, E, F. I created few records in my table. I inserted these records in my table. Record inserted in my table, there is no problem at all. Select star from EMP. You all can see we have the record. We just created a table. We inserted the record in the table. That is very much okay with that. We all can see this record. Now question is, let me create a sequence. See this scenario based question. Coming in the interview. Create sequence, any name, suppose EMP underscore SEQ. Create sequence name. Start with 1, increment by 1. Let's do this. My sequence will be created. Interviewer question is, in an interviewer question is, select NVL. I'm using NVL function. I'm writing here, for example, ID, comma, employee sequence dot nextval from dual. Another question, I'm doing this. What is the value it populate? What is the value it populate? The sequence. I'm writing this sequence. We know about NVL. NVL function is what? Null value replacement. If your ID is null, so it will replace the value. For example, see this in this table. Select start.emp table. We just created this emp table. We have this value n. We are writing NVL in bracket ID, comma, sequence dot next val. What does it mean? It means when the value is ID is coming as it is, it will print you 1. When the ID will be null, so it replaced by sequence dot next val. Interview question is, what is the value populating here for the sequence? See this last value. If you see this around, and this is a very tricky question. Normally the sequence start with value 1, increment by 1. Value 1, increment by 1. This is what we wrote as a sequence. In sequence, the first time when we call the sequence dot next val, it will give you value 1. And but the mistake what we did at the time of interview, we are seeing here it will call, it will give you value 1. Here it will call, it will give you value 2. Here it will call, it will give you value 3. That is wrong. That is wrong. If you see this, let me run this query, then I will explain you. See this, what is happening. Oh, sorry, ID is not what is the column name. Selects NVL is not dual actually from EMP. Table name is EMP. Sorry, my mistake. EMP. See this value. Let's try to understand it. What is happening? See this value. Make it a little bit more here. When I call it sequence dot next val, ID is 1. Let me call it here ID 2, so that ID is 1. In case of 1, it is giving 1. Next time when it run, every time NVL is a function. Whenever this function will be executed, it will give, doesn't matter, it use employee dot sequence, employee underscore sequence dot next val, does not matter. This sequence is used or not used. But every time when this NVL function will be called, this sequence value will be generated. 1, 2, right? 3. Here is the sequence used. Here is the sequence. Here is the sequence. Here is the sequence. So last value of sequence is coming 6. It's not 3. If you see this, let me call it here. I'm calling the column ID again one more time. You can see this. I'm calling this ID. Already 6 generated. If you see in the last class, already 6 generated here. Let's see it here. I call this value. First time it is as it is 1. It should populate 1, but sequence will be calculated automatically. It becomes 7. Next time when it null, it use the sequence next value and give you 8. Here I'm not using sequence. It gives the first value because NVL function will take, if this ID will be null, then only NVL go for the next value. It doesn't give, it's okay. It print ID, but actually internally it calculated 9. Next time it is null, it printed you 10. Because here the sequence value become 10. 9 already calculated here. Here 10, here 11, here 12. So we can see this concept, how null will be coming here. This is the one very good question coming here on case of sequence. Let's talk about few more questions. There is one question calling on cursors. Right? Cursors. Cursors are considered as a very easy topic. Right? Interviewer will make a trick here. When they ask a question, a few questions from the triggers are exactly fixed. Right? They ask you the question, what are cursors? Sorry, on the cursor, the few questions are exactly fixed. What are cursor attribute? And we all give the answer that we have implicit cursor, explicit cursor. Interviewer question is, what is implicit cursor? We all know about explicit cursor. Everybody know about explicit cursor. The question is, what is implicit cursor? When the question is talking about implicit cursor, I'm telling you, at least 99% of the people give the answer wrong, that every select statement is implicit cursor. Is not select. Each and every statement executed by Oracle, either it is select, update, delete, insert, any SQL query which is run by Oracle is considered as an implicit cursor. Always remember this. Always understand this concept. How to answer is very important. Implicit cursor doesn't mean that any select statement is implicit cursor. Not select. Each and every statement that is executed by Oracle is considered as an implicit cursor. Either it will be select statement or insert statement or update statement or delete statement, does not matter. Any SQL will be considered as a implicit cursor. right? All these are the very basic concept of the question asking in the interview, very basic concept of the question they are asking in the interview, right? And people give this answer wrong. Okay, let's see this one more question coming in the interview. CTAs, we all know that, we all know this concept. CTAs question, what is CTAs is, what is CTAs question is, create table as select. Create table as select means, if question is asking here that in an interview, let's see this question. Create table, the question is, can we create how to create a table from another table when the structure and the data all both will be copied? People give the answer like this: create table, table name, for example I'm creating employee, create table employees as select star from HR dot employees. See this question, what this question mean, what this question mean, this question means, this question means what, this question means I am creating a table, employee table, I am creating an employee table from HR.employee table, and each data structure and data, the table structure and data both will be copied. This is what the answer given in the interview. You can find the same answer almost everywhere on the Google. Don't follow these bogus websites, right? And always try to answer smartly. When we do create table, table name as select star from a table name, what is happening here? What is happening here? All the data which are in this table, a new table will be created. This table, a new table will be created. That is true, no doubt at all. New table will be created which has the same columns. Understand it, not all structure, same column, same data type, and all data will be copied. Not a structure. Never use the word structure, because all constraint not copied, primary key not copied, foreign key not copied, index not copied. It's not a structure. It's not a structure. It's just the all columns with their data types, and the all data will be copied. Constraint not copied, primary key not copied, foreign key not copied, index not copied. But now there is a trick. The tricky question is, interviewer can ask you, so you mean to say, so you mean to say here in this question that primary key not copied, right? Sorry, constraint not copied. But always remember, there is a question coming in the interview here, right? Interview question coming in the interview here, that foreign key, sorry, constraint, check constraint copied. Only check, sorry, check constraint is a not null constraint. Not null constraint is also a type of check constraint, right? If you go to the user underscore constraint table, is also a very good interview question. If you go to user underscore constraint table, we can see that check constraint will be copied. Check constraint will be copied here with how, sorry, not null constraint will be stored in the database as a constraint type is equal to C. Not null will be copied as a constraint type is equal to C, right? This, so everything will be copied. Check constraint, only check constraint will be copied. Rest any constraint will be not copied. Always remember, this is one of the very good interview question they're asking in the interview. There's one more question. Let's talk about one more question they're asking in the interview. That we are asking in the interview in a question. Suppose there are very good scenario based question. I have a table. Let's see this interview question for performance tuning. I have a table. The table contains suppose 100,000 records. 100,000 records in a table. Interviewer is saying from this table, interviewer is saying from this table, when I run a select query from this table, what is happening this select query will take, suppose, for example, 2 minutes to run. Interesting, 2 minutes is a use time, and that 2 minutes we don't need it. 2 minutes, our business cannot wait for 2 minutes. We want to reduce the time. And when I can see, I find it here that most of the record which we written is not needed. Most of the record is not needed. So what we can do it here, that let's delete 80% of the record, 90% of the record. I deleted 90,000 of the record because these are old record which I don't need it. My table is now just only 10,000 records. Previously, my table 100,000 record. I deleted 90% of the record. But still, when I run a query, my query is still taking 2 minutes of the time. What was the reason? Very good interview question. That my table has a 10,000, 100,000 records. And when I run a select query, my table will take 2 minutes. My select query will take 2 minutes to perform, right? But what is happening? I deleted 90% of the record. I deleted 90% of the record, and then my query is now my table is just 10,000 record. My table just had 10,000 record. Then what is the reason why my query still take the same amount of time? Still take the same amount of time. Why? What is the reason? Reason of this question is, here interviewer doesn't want to test your performance tuning. Interviewer want to test your base concept. The base concept, you deleted the record. Once you deleted the record, your high watermark is still there. You know HWM? HWM is called as high watermark. What is this high watermark? High watermark is the last block till where the data will be written. For example, suppose, let me take MS Paint. MS Paint. MS Paint. For example, suppose this is the all block, right? This is all the block where the block will, suppose for example, these are the block where the data can be possible. You deleted the records. You deleted the records from, for example, this much of the data. Where is gone? Take this. You deleted the record from all this table, 90,000, but still you make a delete statement. Delete statement will not reset this HWM, high watermark. So answer of your question is because you write a delete statement, and delete statement will not reset our high watermark. Because of this, your query will take the same amount of time, right? So remember this very good interview question, that I have so much record, I deleted so much record, my query is now very less record, still my query is taking time because your high watermark is not reset. Delete will not reset the highest watermark, right? Delete will not reset the highest watermark. If you do truncate, there's a main difference between truncate and delete, right? So because a very good important interview question. So whenever you give interview answer of delete and truncate, always remember these two answers, these two differences, that truncate will reset the HWM and delete will not, and truncate will faster than delete. You always give these two differences in the last, so that interviewer will ask a next question from here. Okay, what is HWM? Understand the trick how to give interview. In interview, you have to tell interviewer that he will ask you that question. You never give him an open cold that he will prepare some questions and start asking from you. No, you have to prepare like this, that you throw the ball and he will get a trap on it, right? This is what you have to do. You have to use this word when you're giving difference between delete and truncate. Your last difference is that delete will not reset HWM and truncate will reset. So whenever you see this, interviewer next question is, what is HWM? So you get one more 5 minutes how to kill interviewer time. This is the best thing you have to learn, how to kill interview time, right? So you got this answer of this question, that because you make a delete statement, delete will not reset the HWM. So that's why it takes the same amount of time, because your query will go to all the block to find out. Doesn't matter if find the data or not, but all the blocks available. So query will go all the data to see all the block to find out the data, right? Always prefer to understand the base concept of any problem. Just see this. Keys are very important topic. Primary key, foreign key, unique key, candidate key, super key. Lots of all keys are keys. Keys means who can open the lock, who is used to uniquely identify the data. Never get confused what is primary key, what is candidate key, what is super key, what is unique key. Keys are keys who are used to uniquely identify the data. Rest, everything is their characteristics which comes with that particular. Okay, I am primary key, so I am not accepting null. Something different I have, right? I am only one in the whole table. That is different scenario. But the main concept of keys is every key is used to uniquely identify the data. This is the main concept. Okay, let's see for the primary key. There is a question, scenario based question. I will all discuss today only in this question. Table, suppose I have a table. Create table. Let me create table supplier. I'm create table supplier. Okay. See this interview question. I make a supplier underscore ID, and that is a number. Let's make it, for example, not null. Right. I make here supplier name, SUPPLIER, supplier underscore name, varchar to 20. Make one more, for example, contact address, anything, varchar to 20. That's it. I create a table with 3 columns. Let me create a composite primary key. Composite means what? More than one column. I get a composite primary key here. Constraint, suppose supplier underscore PK as a primary key. I create on 2 columns. For example, suppose I'm creating on column supplier ID. I'm getting a column on supplier name. In these 2 columns, I created a composite primary key. Right? Interview question is, I have a table. That table missing right parenthesis. What I missed here? Supplier ID, supplier. Oh, sorry, comma. Okay. Interview question is, I have a table. That table contains a composite primary key. Composite primary key means more than one column. He told you that I have a table supplier that contains supplier ID and supplier name, and I create a composite primary key on supplier ID and supplier name. Composite primary key means this is the combination is a primary key. Means if you want to identify any unique record in this table, we need a combination of supplier ID and supplier name. Simple concept of the primary key. The question is, interviewer question is, we know the primary key base. Primary key will not accept null. We know about primary key is a not null constraint, will not accept null. Interview question is, I am writing an insert statement. Insert into supplier values. Suppose I'm inserting 1, comma, supplier name is null, and suppose contact address is India. See this example. This is the statement. Interview question is here. I have a table supplier. That table contains composite primary key on supplier ID and supplier name. Can I insert null? You remember, we cannot insert null into primary key. We all know that. Interview question is tricky. Can I insert null as a part of this particular, because supplier name is not a primary key. Supplier name is not a not null constraint. In supplier ID, I make it not null constraint. You can see that. But supplier name, I haven't make not null constraint. So the question is, can I insert null? Because supplier name itself is not a primary key. Primary key is a combination of supplier ID and supplier name. And the interviewer make you confused. The primary key is a not null constant, I know. So I cannot insert null into this combination. But a supplier name is a column. This column can accept null value. It is not written not null. So can I insert null? It's a very good tricky question. Always go to the base concept. The primary key base concept is primary key is a not null constant. Not null constant. If you try to insert this record, it means primary key is saying if you become a family, if you become a part of a primary key, does not matter, you alone is not a primary key, but you become a part of, you become a family of primary key, it means you become the same characteristics as per the primary key. You cannot accept null value. You can see that, cannot insert null into the supplier name column. Does not matter. Supplier name here, supplier name itself alone is not a primary key, no. But supplier name is a part of primary key, so we cannot insert null here into this table. Very good question. Let's see one more scenario based question here on the primary key itself. Let me create a table. Create table XYZ. I'm creating table XYZ with ID, that is a number. Table will be created. Let me insert few duplicate record into this table. Insert into XYZ values. Example 1. Let me insert 1, 3, 4 times. 1 insert, 2 insert, 3 insert, 4 insert, 5 insert. That's okay. Select star from XYZ. I can see this table. We can see the data. So many duplicate record. The question is, interviewer will tell you here, I have a table. I have a table. Always remember, interviewer will ask you a question like this, that I have a table that contains millions of record and we are working in a scenario where I have so many users. Our application is a tier 1 application. So many things coming here in every interview. But remember, concept never change. The question is here, I have a table. The table contains duplicate record. But now today in this release, we as a business, we analyze that we want to prevent any further duplication of data. Means I don't want any duplicate record to insert into this rows, into this table. Simple concept. I don't want any duplicate record should be inserted into my table. I don't want any duplicate record to insert into my table. So what can we do? If you see this record, if you see this table contains here duplicate value, right? The question is, the table contains duplicate value and I cannot delete duplicate, because we know that, right? We are working in some banking domain or health insurance domain or logistics domain or telecom domain. We have some rules and regulations. We cannot delete the data from the table, from the existing table, right? So I have this table, this transaction table, and there is an ID column or any column that contains some duplicate value. But from today onwards, I don't want any duplicate record should insert into this table, but I cannot delete this record. What is the solution? What can you do? How to achieve it? So always remember that the base concept. If somebody can saying that I don't want any duplicate record into my table, it means what? It means that particular column must be either primary key or unique key. Either that is unique constraint or primary key constraint, because only primary key and unique key make you ensure that there is no duplicate record comes into the table. Very simple concept. So you can say the answer, okay, it means this particular column must have a primary key. So we can create this column as a primary key, or we can create this column as a unique constraint. Anything we can do if you do this thing. So whenever new constraint is what? Remember the constraint, right? Primary key constraint, unique key constraint, not null constraint, check constraint, foreign key constraint. What are these constraints? Constraint R is a rule that will stop the data, check the data before inserting. If you qualify the rule, you are going to insert the data. Constraint are just like a rule. It will go and check your record validity. In this example, I have a duplicate record on the table, right? Interview question, very good scenario based question. And I want to insert here, and I cannot delete the duplicate record, but I want user to stop any further duplication. It means I have to create a primary key. Let's see. Whenever we go and create a primary key, suppose create alter table XYZ, add constraint, suppose pk underscore Vishal. I'm adding a constraint that is a primary key on ID. If you try to create a primary key, it becomes fail. Why it fail? Because primary key means there is no duplicate. You try to create a primary key constraint, so it will go and check the record and say, okay, hello, I cannot create a primary key constraint or unique key constraint because this table contains duplicate record. You cannot create it. So this solution will not work here. So what is the solution of this table? This is a very good interview question. What is the solution of this? Because the table contains duplicate record, but I don't want any further duplication. To prevent further duplication, we have only two options: primary key constraint or unique key constraint. But here we cannot do that because table contains duplicate record and I cannot delete it. So the option here is coming here. We are using the same alter table, add constraint name. Primary key coming, the option is deferable no validate. What is deferable no validate will do? Deferable no validate will make sure that, let's see, first let me create it. Table altered. Deferable no validate will make sure that I will not delete any duplicate record, but from now onwards, in this table, if somebody try to insert any record into this table, any duplicate record in this table, my constraint will work here. It will not check any old value. Insert into XYZ value. Suppose I'm trying to insert one again, you can see that it will give me error. Unique constraint violation, primary key. Means I will not go off check any old record, but from the new record, my rule is working. For the new record, my rule is working. You cannot insert any duplicate record now onwards. This is the concept of primary key and unique key constraint. Sorry, primary constraint with deferable no validate, right? This is a very good question. Keys are very important topic. Just for example, there is one question coming on the foreign key, FK. FK, foreign key referential integrity. If you go to the Google, right, or people going to the Google, most of the people ping me on my group, right, when we're talking about foreign key is one of the most favorite topic of the interview, right? What is foreign key? If I ask, most of the people giving me the answer that foreign key is parent-child relationship, which is actually foreign key in one table refers to primary key of another table. Foreign key of one table, let me write it here, one table refer to primary key of another table. This is not your mistake. 99% of documentation saying the same. 99% of the documentation saying the same, that foreign key of one table is referred to primary key of another table, so we can become a primary key constraint. So we can become a foreign key here. We create a foreign key, but actually this is not true. This is not true. Interviewer question, if interviewer has a knowledge, he want to make a trick, he can ask a question. Okay, you mean to say that if I don't have a primary key, so we cannot create a foreign key constraint? If you never tried it, and if you go from a Google, you can say no, we can't do that, because for creating a foreign key, you must need a primary key. But see this, I'm creating in front of you. What is the trick here? Let's understand this. Suppose I'm creating a table, create table stuff type. I'm creating a table stuff type, for example, here. Type ID is a number. primary key. This is a primary key. I'm using alternate ID, that is a number. I make it unique, right? Just make it suppose type name varchar2 20. I create one table here. Table created. Let's create another table. Let's create another table. Create table stuff, or make it our stuff. Create table our stuff. Let's make stuff stuff ID. That is a number. I make this as a primary key. Make his stuff name, that is varchar2, varchar2, that is make it 20, and suppose our alternate ID, that is number, right? I'm going to create a constraint here. Foreign key constraint. Constraint name fk underscore stuff type. Constraint name, foreign key on which column? For example, I'm getting our alternate ID. That should be references to this table. Now, what is the concept we learned? As I said, plenty of documentation is suggested that foreign key have to reference a primary key of another table. But see, I'm referring to this unique key, alternate ID. Let me try to create it here. You can see this. What is written? Table created. What is happening is this alternate ID is actually unique key. It's not primary key. And what I'm saying, 99% of the documentation is suggest otherwise, that primary key, when you try to create a foreign key, it must have to reference a primary key in another table. But actually, this is not true. Interviewer can make a trick here on this question. No, it's not true. We can even reference to a primary key or unique constraint. That is also work. It does not need that every time we need a primary key to do this. It's not needed. It can refer to a unique key as well. You can see this. My table will be created, right? Foreign key is one of the most popular topic in the interview. Always remember how to answer. Primary key and foreign key, about what we know about primary key, foreign key is a parent and child relationship. Parent and child relationship means if there is a child exists, there must be a parent exists. This is what about the foreign key. One line definition. If there is a child exists, there must be a parent exist. This is the concept of the foreign key. We are not supporting orphan child. Simple. This is the very straightforward concept. The question is coming, okay, how many table you really need to implement primary key foreign key relation? How many table? Most of the time, if we don't know the concept, right, what answer we given? 2 tables we need. One table for the parent, one table for the child. So minimum needed 2 table. But actually, this is not true. We can just one table itself is sufficient to create parent and child relationship. This is called self-referencing foreign key. This is called self-referencing foreign key. Let's see this here. A table, I'm creating a table, suppose ABCD. Just in one table, I make it let's suppose my ID, that is number, primary key. I'm getting suppose another my sub ID is a number, simple. My name is a varchar2 20. Let me create a constraint here in the same one table itself. Constraint name fk underscore anything my underscore test. Constraint name foreign foreign key on which column? My sub ID. This ref references the same table ABCD. Which column? Suppose my ID. Let me see first what I did in this example. If you see this example, what I did, I created one table ABCD. In the same table, I created a constraint, that is a foreign key constraint on this column, which is referred to the same table, this column. This is a primary key. Right? That's, you know, that foreign key always refer to the primary key or unique constraint, any one of them. I created a primary. What is this? Only one table is sufficient. Let's see this. You can see table created. Means in only one table, I create a parent and foreign kind relationship. Let's see the data insert. Insert into A, B, C, D values. I'm inserting for records. Suppose I'm inserting my ID 100, suppose null, and suppose Vishal. Inserted a record. Record inserted. If I go to the table, select a star from A, B, C, D, I can see the table. I can see the value. I just inserted this value. I insert one more record, for example, 101, example 100, any value, data inserted. See this table? Data inserted. I create a parent and child relationship. It means whatever the record coming here into my sub ID, that must be refer to the same table my ID column. I try to insert 100, 100 must present here. Let's see this. I try to insert something else. 102, I want to insert here, suppose 300. Let's see, it will give you same error, parent not found. Integrity constant, parent not found. Why it give you parent not found? Because here we created a parent and child relationship. What are the data coming here into this column, my sub ID, that must be refer to the my ID column, the first column. This 300 is not exist into this particular column, so it gives you error that parent child is not found. Understand this concept? The same behave as a parent and child relationship. So how many table we needed? Just one table is needed, is okay to implement parent and child relationship. That is called as a self-referencing foreign key. Always understand it. How to solve, how to give the answer is very important. I always make such type, but let's go one more question before finishing the video. There is one more concept of bulk collection. Bulk collect. What is bulk collect? Bulk collect means simple what? Whenever you answer, because see, these type of questions are considered as a full toss ball in a cricket, right? When you got this type of question, you have a full opportunity that you can explain at least 5 minutes on a particular topic. This is what interviewer wants. Suppose we're talking about performance tuning. Interviewer expect performance tuning is what? There is some people ask me in the group, what is performance tuning? Give me the performance tuning answer. Performance tuning is a process. Performance tuning is a process. It's not like a button. Just you sit in the car, you can just make this button on and the car will be started. It's a process, right? It may be, there is no thumb rule of tuning. There is no thumb rule of the tuning, right? So always understand the process. But interviewer has want that when you start talking about performance tuning, you are able to speak 30 minutes continuously without stopping. This is what you have to prepare. This question is out. Everybody know that this question is out. In every interview, they're asking question performance tuning. How good you are to explain 30 minutes without stopping. Suppose this is a question bulk collection. Interviewer can ask you, right? I am writing a DML statement and I have to process thousands, millions of records, right? Always remember bulk collection. Whenever talking about tuning, tuning is from insert, update, and delete. Our DML operation, we have a bulk collection. Bulk collection is only come for performance. Bulk collection is only needed for the performance. It only comes in the collection, bulk collection concept for performance only. Bulk collection is what? Fetch multiple rows in one shot. Multiple rows in one shot. What is one shot means? Just hit the database one time, because what is happening? See, I just give 5 more minutes, guys. What is happening? We have a PL SQL engine and we have a SQL engine. Whenever our query will run, our PL SQL engine will go to the SQL engine, take the record and come back. Every time, suppose when I'm using a loop, right? My loop contains my select star from employee loop. If select star from employee will give you 1000 rows, your loop will be run 1000 times. That is called row by row processing. So every time PL SQL engine will hit the table, take the value, come back. Hit the table, take the value, come back. This is the transfer of control between PL SQL to SQL and SQL to PL SQL is called one context switch. Always remember, you have to use this type of word when talking into the interviewer, that this is one context switch. So interviewer next question is, okay, what is context switch? Always remember how to give interview. Interview is a trick. Context switch means what? When my PL SQL engine will hit the database and come back, go and come back, go and come back. So this transfer of control, this hopping between PL SQL to SQL and SQL to PL SQL engine is called one context switch. Context switch and performance are universally proportional. It means if my context switch is high, my performance is low. If my context switch is low, my performance is high. So that's why bulk collection comes into the concept. Bulk collection is doing what? It hit the database just one time, take all the record, does not matter is 1 million record, 10 million record, 100 million record, does not matter. It take all record in one shot and come back. When it's come back, it means one context switch. In one context switch, it will take all the record and store into the memory. That's why you're getting collections. In collection, it store all the record. So bulk collection used to fetch multiple record in one shot. And for all, this is a very big topic, but still I try to make it in 5 minutes. And for all will be used to process all record in one shot. When we process all record in one shot, it means less context switch. It means my performance become high. So what is sometimes what is happening? The interviewer question is, it means, for example, I can process 100 million record in one shot. You can say yes. 100 million record, I can go hit the database, because this is the property of a bulk collect. If you hit the bulk collect by using one shot, if my select query will give you 100 million record, all record will be fetched in one shot, means one hit. Just hit the database one time, all records are coming. But the negative point is what? This is what you have to explain. Negative point about my program will start consuming a lot of memory. Reason? When you hit the table, when you hit the table here in one shot, hit the table here, so all 100 million records you take and store into the memory somewhere, and then you process this record. So at the same moment of time, my query performance become good, but my database performance become degrade, because it start consuming a lot of memory. So concept of limit comes here. Concept of limit. Limit is what? Limit means when I hit the database and I tell out of 100 million, just take only, for example, just take a hypothetical random value, 50,000 record in one shot. So just go one time and take 50,000 and come back. Take 50,000 and come back. Take an example. For example, suppose I have a 10,000 records. My query is, if I'm using 10,000 record, if using a loop, it means 10,000 times it will go, come back, go, come back. It means 10,000 context switch. If I use a bulk collection, one context switch, hit the database one, take all record, come back. Suppose I can make a limit of 100. It means one hit the database, take 100 records and come back. It is 100 context switch. 100 context switch is maybe not good as like one context switch, but much better than this 10,000 context switch. If my program will consuming a lot of memory, I can use limit. There is a question coming in interviews sometimes, right? That what is this? How can you choose the limit? What is the value of limit? So always remember, Oracle never claim that there is a value of limit. There is no formula to calculate the value of limit. Always be confident. If any website claims that this is the value of limit, that is a bogus website, and delete it from your browser history, right? Oracle never claims. See, performance bulk collection is used to implement the performance. Performance is all about the process, how much memory you have. So always remember, the answer of this interview question is, there is no as such formula to calculate how much limit I can. We can use the limit depend upon our program, how much memory, how much data I'm fetching. For example, I start with suppose I have to process 1 million record. I start with 5,000 record as a limit. If everything going well, then I can increase it to 7,000. I can increase it to 10,000. I can go this hit and trial method. There is no as such formula to decide what is the limit. And always remember, limit can be, sometimes interview question is how to write a limit. People can, in an interview, many people do this mistake. They give this interview, select star bulk collect into collection, limit 100. This is wrong. Whenever using a limit, we need a cursor. Without explicit cursor, we cannot use limit. Limit can be a part of fetch into statement, right? It's a very good question in the interview. So we cannot use select star bulk collect into select into. We cannot use limit by using select into. You need a concept of exactly same concept of explicit cursor. Without explicit cursor, we cannot use limit. Always remember that. Remember this question. This is a very good question coming in the interview. Right? There is one more question sometime. The last question I'm discussing today. In and exist. I saw many websites and people claim that in is faster or exist is faster. Oracle never claim it. Never get this. All depend upon the scenario. Think about it. In and exist, both are same thing. Both doing the same thing. Go and check the record in the subquery. So if suppose exist is always better, then why not Oracle go and depreciate in? In is still working. The reason is you never say this answer. You always try to make the difference between in and exist, but never say in the interview that exist is faster. Exist is return you Boolean value. In will go and evaluate the whole query, and exist will return true and false. If my inner query has a big volume of big table and a big volume of data, I just want to check, do you exist data or not exist? I'm using exist. Exist will be faster here. Always give interview. How to give the answer is very important. Oracle never claimed it. Few people can say that merge statement is faster than delete. It's not like this. Merge is faster than update. It's not like that. Merge is even expensive than update. Oracle never claim it, but some few websites claim. So don't go with that claim. Always try. So that's all for today. Always try to give the answer with example. Understand the base concept, right? Understand the base concept. Go to the base concept one by one. Each topic start from scratch. Okay. So thank you so much.